Welcome to Module 2 of our Fundamentals course. In this module, we are going to examine the broader environment that projects operate within. Whether you are managing a small internal project or leading a major government contract, your project does not exist in isolation. It is shaped by internal culture, external conditions, the way your organization is structured, and the systems that are already in place. We will explore the basics of these influences, and by the end of this module, you will have a broad understand how to adjust your approach to fit the environment you are working in, gearing you up, and putting you right on track for the PMP exam prep course. Let us begin. Projects are shaped by many different forces, both internal and external. Internally, the systems your organization uses, how it is structured, and the knowledge it has built up all play a role. Externally, your project may be influenced by market forces, government regulations, or even international standards. On top of that, every project operates within a governance framework, a set of rules about who can make decisions, who is accountable, and how information flows. Finally, we will explore tailoring, a powerful concept that allows you to adapt the standard processes and tools to better fit the needs of your specific project. Let us begin with enterprise environmental factors, often shortened to EEFs. These are conditions that exist outside of your direct control, but still influence your project. There are two categories. First, external factors. These include things like current market conditions, international trade laws, the political climate, or even regional holidays that may affect scheduling. For example, if you are managing a global team, national holidays and workweek norms can dramatically affect your project calendar. Then we have internal factors. These include the organizational culture, formal and informal reporting structures, and the availability of facilities or equipment. If your company has a conservative risk culture, for example, that will influence how aggressive you can be with planning. If your organization heavily values documentation, you may have to adjust your process to include more written reports than you would otherwise create. Next, let us talk about organizational process assets. These are internal resources your organization has developed over time, and they can be incredibly useful to your project. Think of them as your internal toolbox. These assets include things like policy documents, standard operating procedures, templates for risk registers or stakeholder analyses, and lessons learned from past projects. For example, you might use a template for a project charter that was created by a previous team, or you might read a lessons learned document that highlights what went wrong in a past initiative so you do not make the same mistake. Unlike environmental factors, organizational process assets are completely within your control to use. You should always check to see what your organization already has before building something new from scratch. Let's compare enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. Enterprise environmental factors, or EEFs, are conditions that exist outside the control of the project team. These can be internal or external to the organization, but the key is that the team does not control them. Examples include government regulations, market conditions, or even the organizational culture you're working within. You have to adapt your project to these conditions. They shape the environment in which your project operates. On the other hand, organizational process assets, or OPAs, are the mostly internal knowledge, processes, and historical information that your team can leverage. These are usually internal and are mostly under the control of the team. Think about templates, past project files, standard procedures, and lessons learned. All of those are OPAs. If your organization has done similar work before, those OPAs can help you avoid reinventing the wheel. So the bottom line is, EFs influence your project from the outside. You can't change them. OPAs support your project from the inside. You should absolutely use them. The way your organization is structured has a major impact on how you manage your project. In a functional structure, everyone reports by department. That means the finance team works together under a finance director, the marketing team under a marketing manager, and so on. In that structure, a project manager often has very limited authority. You may have to negotiate for resources or wait for approvals from multiple department heads. In a project-oriented structure, the reverse is true. The organization is built around projects, and teams are formed for the sole purpose of delivering those projects. In that model, the project manager has full control over budgets, schedules, and staff. Most companies today fall somewhere in between, in what is known as a matrix structure. Depending on how the power is divided, that matrix may be weak, balanced, or strong. In a weak matrix, functional managers still hold the most authority. In a strong matrix, the project manager has most of the power. The structure of your organization defines your level of authority as a project manager. In a functional structure or weak matrix, your authority may be low. You might be seen more as a coordinator, with limited ability to assign tasks or control the budget. In a balanced matrix, you might share authority with functional managers, which can lead to more collaboration, or sometimes more conflict. In a strong matrix or a fully project-oriented structure, you have much more authority. You can assign work, allocate resources, and make key decisions. The structure you work in will affect everything, from how you build your team, to how you report progress, to how much control you have over the schedule and budget. Let us talk about project governance. Governance is the framework that guides how decisions are made, who has authority, and how oversight is maintained. It is like the project's rulebook. It defines who can approve a change request, how risks are escalated, and how often progress must be reported. For example, your governance model might require that all scope changes be approved by a steering committee, or it might allow the project manager to approve changes under a certain dollar amount. Clear governance avoids confusion and ensures accountability throughout the project lifecycle. Now let us discuss tailoring. Tailoring is the act of adjusting project management practices to fit the unique needs of your project. Not every project needs the full set of documents and controls you would use on a complex federal program. For instance, if you are managing a 3-week internal rollout of software, you may not need a full risk register or procurement plan. But if you are managing a multi-year infrastructure project, skipping those would be a mistake. Tailoring is not about cutting corners. It is about applying the right amount of structure for the situation. Let us look at a real-world example. Suppose you are leading a small project for a single department inside your company. The budget is low, the timeline is short, and the risks are minimal. In this case, tailoring might mean simplifying your communications plan. Instead of weekly status reports, you could hold informal check-ins. Instead of formal stakeholder documentation, a shared email thread may be enough. On the other hand, if you are managing a government-funded project with strict reporting requirements, you would not tailor down your documentation. In fact, you might expand it. The key is to understand your environment and make informed decisions that help, not hinder, your ability to deliver results. You have now completed a deep dive into the factors that shape every project. You learned about enterprise environmental factors, which are conditions outside your control, and organizational process assets, which are internal tools you can use. You now understand how organizational structure affects your authority as a project manager, and how governance creates clear boundaries for decision-making. Finally, you learned the importance of tailoring, using just enough structure to match the needs of your specific project. This knowledge is essential as you move forward. The best project managers do not just follow a checklist. They assess the environment, understand the culture, and apply the right tools at the right time. Great work finishing this module. You now have a strong foundation in understanding the environment in which projects operate. Up next, we will turn our focus inward to the role of the project manager. You will learn what makes an effective leader, how to balance authority and responsibility, and how to lead with confidence. I will see you in the next module.